Hello, I'm here with Eric Reynes in my hit part like a dual show of his show. He's having me on his show, and I'm having him on my show. I'm calling mine the Multidimensional Roundtable, so we can share perspectives in the different layers of our reality and how we explore them together, and how we share those experiences with the public. So yeah, glad to have you on. Glad to be on your show. And
Yeah.
what's been going on with you of late?
Well, I actually just got back from the Golden Frequency Immersion Retreat. That was where I led about 33 people through breaking the body down completely and totally and then building it back up to a much higher level of energetic mastery. And I got to say, it was a smashing success. I was absolutely just blown away with the level of effort that these people put into themselves and their own work. And it was a very, very humbling experience, and the amount of work that we were able to do in such a short time because it was only 7 days, and these guys left just absolutely stellar. It was a very, very humbling experience to be a part of. I expected, some pretty heavy results from it, but I had no idea what I was getting into. It was as transformational for me as it was for everybody who showed up, and it was really a beautiful thing.
Hmm. Like, do you want to share some of the modalities that you learned for that you are gonna heal for other people?
Well, so I don't really call myself a healer. I definitely coined the term, because that's just the general function of what we do. But I'm more of like a facilitator. It's like I provide a high energetic environment, and then I remove the blockages that keep people from healing themselves. Some of the things that I do are, well, geez, it's a list as long as my arm now. All right, so let's start with the basic stuff. So I do like implant removal and parasite extraction, entity removal, and so on and so forth. And those are the forces outside of the body that cause stagnation inside the body and cause blockage. Um, Blockage could be something that it could be on any level physically. It could be emotional, mental, physical, pulmonary, lymphatic, energetic. It's all one of those things that it's kind of like a blanket term for lack of flow, whatever level that's on. And lack of flow causes stagnancy. And so we clean all that out. We open that up so that people can get clean blood flow through their body, and then we just work up from there. We do neurological rebalancing. We open the meridian centers. We, microcosmic orbit attunements. What else do we have? Higher self integrations, multidimensional healing, alternate past, present, future self, upgrades. All kinds of different things. DNA activation. There's really the list keeps on growing. I think my favorite so far, though, is the energetic chiropractic.
Hmm.
That one right there. There's people out there who are, they're a lot stronger than I am. They can, hit a brighter level of resonance, but they can't do the energetic chiropractic simply because of just the awareness of the body that I have, with the massage therapy and the physical therapy background.
Huh.
So that one's actually really fun. I think people feel that one more than anything, especially because there's a lot of energetically dense people out there who can't really feel their chi flow until you break down the body and like really start allowing the flow through. But that one right there, they can feel that one quite clearly, and that one's really interesting the way that works.
Hmm.
I really started to get to the point to where it's much more cohesive simply for the fact that I worked with a guy named Dorian Frazier, and he works on those frequencies that induce bioelectronic magnetism, I believe is what he calls it. Pretty much the trauma release twitch muscle induction. He knows how to induce that in the body once he calls it cracking the code. Like he's got to do a specific amount of accretion on energetic levels before the body is at the point to where it's accessible to those things. And I had a session with him, and it's really, really put my game on the physical level, just like really high up there. So that was a lot of fun. Well, as for the retreat itself, like I took people through all kinds of things. I had a yoga routine designed to relax the body front and back, get everything open and stretching. Then we would do some Wim Hof breathing. We did some abdominal breathing, some reverse breathing, all kinds of different modalities to actually put the body back into contact with the breath. And then we did Qigong, Shaolin Qigong, and my own infusion things that I've actually intuited. And like it was really cool just to see everybody kind of stepping up into the place of being able to create chi fields and use their awareness to look for things inside of that chi field and then remove it. So it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So like with a energetic chiropractor, that's I don't see that term put around much, but I know what it is. It's there's many layers to it and how you can massage the body from a distance. Like, would you use regular chiropractics and massage along with it, or do you like replicate the same effect from a distance without even touching the person?
So my whole thing when I was doing the massage therapy, physical therapy, when I was actually had hands-on people, um, when I didn't have a client to work with, I was actually following the applied kinesiologist that I worked with, and I was seeing all the connections that he would use, all the modalities and the systems that he was actually using to heal the body. And so the thing that really stuck out the most to me was that you have to go 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 1 time a week, and pretty much what it's doing is it's fighting the muscle memory. So they'll push the bone back into alignment, and the muscle memory will try to pull it out. And so it's like a game of whack-a-mole. Before it gets too far out, you have to get it adjusted back in, and eventually the muscle stops pulling the bone out of alignment. So me being the solution-based person that I am, I was like, well, why don't I just go in and shut down the tension in the muscle that's causing the bone to be pulled out of alignment? And that's actually how the Fulcrum method massage modality was born, and it works better than anything I've found so far. And that right there is kind of what I do energetically. So energetically, what I do is I'm not really adjusting the bones back into place. I am shutting down the muscle memory that is keeping the bones out of alignment, and then just natural motion actually puts the bones back into alignment. And so, like if I've got you on my table in front of me, I'll do like some palpation and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm not anywhere near advanced enough to understand exactly how the bones have to be set together to do actual chiropractic work. I can look at the body on multiple levels and say, hey, this right here is tight, that right there is out of alignment. Well, it looks like that vertebrae is pushing that way. Okay, so let's go shut down these muscles over here and let's push that bone back into place, and suddenly it's in alignment. So that's kind of how I do that right there. Now, as for like working on people physically, I still do massage and I still do stretching and stuff like that. But that's only if it's hard to get energy flow into the area, because blood is synonymous with chi and chi is synonymous with blood. And so if you have a lack of chi flow in the area, get some blood into it. If you have a lack of blood flow in the area, get some chi into it. And it kind of works hand in hand like that. So say for instance that I'm having a problem turning on the meridians in somebody's hand, like their pericardium or their lung meridian, I will actually go and release the shoulder, which more often than not, it's really, really tight, and just get some blood flow through there, and then suddenly they have sensation all the way through the hands, and you can bring the chi through the hand because now there's blood flow. So it's working on every angle. It's a mind, body, spirit complex, and you got to work on everything.
I like that you do that. Yeah. It's a very interesting method to go into and make an operating system so you can visually see that and then have the biofeedback with the client that you're doing where they can feel it. Yeah. Glad
It's a
we can
lot.
talk about that. I also do similar situations, different types of energy that I've scanned, octaves that you can increase in flow throughout the circulation of the body and clearing the blood, getting it better for programming for the next time, as well as the bones, the marrow, the hearts, and the pericardium and the neurosynapses and how they fire, as well as the chakra systems, the auric field, the multidimensional body type technology that's the extension of the self that can be in many places and sometimes get haunted and you know dump negative energy on you if it gets stolen or whatever. And there's just so many different ways to heal. It's just amazing. So I love discovering new types, and we all like uh, gravitate to what based on what experience comes to us, and then uh, take it on as a challenge, and then learn through it, and then we can heal ourselves, and then heal everyone around us the same way, and be able to perceive that. I don't know. Let's see. Do any type of, let's see, like how are your meditations, and also like how is your since getting more popular, how have you been dealing with the energy waves that have been coming at you? Have you become getting stronger from them?
Oh yeah, definitely. Each wave is another activation. Each wave is another set of information of codes that are coming through that if you interpret them, it can teach you new things. If not, it just kind of goes by you. But it's like the ocean. There's always another wave behind it. Now, my meditations, it depends on whether I'm working with people or I'm by myself. On a one-on-one setting, I actually just had a client yesterday that I wasn't planning on doing any type of meditation with her, yet in the moment when it was a coaching session, I was teaching her how to unimplant herself, and she found the keystone inside of the solar plexus, and when she pulled that out, she just exploded with energy. I mean, this lady got so bright, and she was feeling just, rushes of energy all the way from the chest down into the hands, and from, the abdomen all the way into the feet. And it was just getting more and more and more intense for her. And she didn't know what to do with it. It was one of those things that it's almost so overwhelming in the moment as you're going through it that you can't really pay attention to what's going on. And so I had to guide her through the meditation with what to do with that energy. And it was really incredibly powerful. We stood facing each other with the earth in between us, and we made the vibratory connection of our own field. And so we wrapped the earth up in brilliant sunlight, and then we started lifting vibratory resonance until we were inside of the sun. And then we used the multidimensional conduits that the stars are all connected with. So we took that energy directly through Sirius, the Pleiades, and then all the way into the galactic central sun. And we both stood inside the galactic central sun, bringing that energy to cleanse and purify the earth. And then we brought it back into the real space, like we were looking at it from outside the planet. And we found the earthquakes, the fires, all this energy that was having the negative attention on it, using the weather warfare weapons, pretty much whipping up all this loose energy from these massive storms, the earthquakes, the fires, the social upheaval, everything that they're doing right now. It's like the last gasp of a wounded beast. They're trying everything that they can to shut us down. And so what we did is we placed our hands on these areas and just soothed them. We gave them clean energy and a connection and an understanding, because all of these things, they grow on a personality. There's like a literal consciousness behind all these things. And it's just like any other person. If they're just targeted with all kinds of, energetic weapons and interference, they get to the point to where they're frantic, to where they're, panicked, and they just don't know what to do. And that's kind of the same thing that was happening with the fire elementals, with the hurricane elemental. And so we soothed those and we calmed those down. And, it was actually really amazing with how much response we got from that. We've been having rain here in Oregon ever since, off and on. It's not like a gully washer or anything like that, but we haven't had rain in over 2 months. Like, it was very, very interesting how all these things started happening, and Irma started getting downgraded. And it's one of those things that it just lets you know that we are way more powerful than we think we are. And all we have to do is just step up into that space to where we can do work like that, because anybody can do it. It's just a confidence issue, And so that's kind of what I do with one-on-one meditations. Our group meditations are always geared towards activation and planetary liberation. So we went through about 7 or 8 of those at the Golden Frequency Immersion Retreat, and those were a lot of fun. We were able to start lifting everybody's vibratory resonance by taking them through some breathing and energy flow patterns, and then we were able to connect in that resonance and then direct it to the planet and direct it to things that were needed. Like, but one of them we did where it was an internal, like at the fire circle in the evening, it was an internal cleansing of all the organs of the body, using the fire as a fulcrum to all of us connect into that elemental energy and then use it together, so that while you were cleaning yourself out, you were cleaning out the person next to you, and so on and so forth. And it was really a beautiful thing right there. My personal meditations, I always have some type of a goal, I guess you could say. I don't just sit there and ohm into nothing. Like those are all that's beneficial. Don't get me wrong, but I find that my meditations are much more powerful when I'm flowing energy through my meridian system, when I am activating specific areas of my body with the breath, and I always have a goal in mind. Like whether that's to dissolve the veil more, whether that's to make the connection from the sun to the earth stronger, whether that's to make the earth be able to access galactic consciousness, stuff like that. There's always something that I'm doing with the meditation. And it's just one of those things that it really evolves in the moment. And the more connected in that I get, the easier it is to intuit what is needed in the moment. And so it's really kind of cool what I've been able to take people through. So it's kind of what I do.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot you gave me with that. Yeah, like I do similar things with my meditation where I'll resolve constantly, not just in like meditation, but like walking around meditation. Like I know you can do that too. And like get involved in the multitasking of your multidimensionality where you're like stepping in the physical and the unseen world at the same time and doing multiple things. Um, every step you take, every action, amplifying it. The so like I've been dealing with a lot of healing myself and then applying that all those new techniques I've been learning to healing all versions of myself backwards and forwards in time, as well as micro and macro beings, planets. Learning, and I know you have this too, where you can heal planets as well as stars, and I've been doing that quite a bit recently to resolve things based on stolen energy that are being used to prop up the system here, as well as all their entanglements, and auditing the matrix. The hurricane, lots of stuff going on with that. We can touch on that. There's like so many layers to it, not just like the negative aspect and what it is being manipulated by, like, or like steered in directions by different weather warfare systems or weather witches and wizards that are for the system of domination control or anything, and how the earth reacts to them and is taking her power back in with her use of the hurricanes and what chess moves she uses them for, such as I've talked about this with other people, and those shows will be coming out too, like Andrew, and we've talked about like how the hurricanes are used as like karmic resolving machines that like anyone can project parts of their elemental consciousness into the eye of the hurricane and start resolving shitloads of their karma, as well as many other ways to heal through that system of energetic motion, moment, and locomotion. It's pretty much bound to happen in will, and it's attracted to sacred geometry systems to shake them up and take out the ghosts of the system that are trapped in the sacred geometry circuitry and negative energy, and it's like a big vacuum to that, as well as it teleports really ancient species that haven't been here in a while and uh, new species into the oceans and repopulation. There's like temporal vortexes. There's all kinds of interesting technology with hurricanes and the way you can use the technology if you enter the mystery school of it. So it's not just all fear, though there is inevitably that too, and the energies people will be feeling from like when you're working with an element and with your elemental body, it seems they are all have a different personality in how they interact with people. Like fire, if you don't raise yourself to its frequency of purity, it will burn you, and it's the ultimate purifier. Um, and you can use that etherically to clear yourself out, like you said. Same thing with the hurricanes spiritually. Um, the winds pulling at anything that's entangled with you. Um, what was my point? Oh yeah, yeah. That so like going along with the element, there's a mystery school of clearance, and you can monitor it in leveling system, what you've done with them before, how much they want to work with you. Um, it seems to go along with becoming one with them, united, not wanting to control them, but flowing with them to the point where they want to flow with you, and then having a stronger and stronger relationship with that. Um, the veils is a very good topic. What veils have you been coming across? I've been coming across like different types of limiter systems and filters and things like on the third eye that have like a programmable layer to it in the field, as well as the fluids of the third eye, as well as the heart and other places that can I describe as veils, or like third eye eyelids or whatever. Have you seen those?
Yeah, actually, those are some cleaning out for a while. It almost feels like a sheet or a net that's lowered down on top of something, and not only does it have etheric weight and pressure to it, it's opaque so that it's hard to like push energy through. Yeah, those are definitely something that I come into contact fairly often. I guess I would consider veils something more on the outside of the body than anything pushing down. And the ones that I deal with more than anything are the big ones, like the veil, the system of the frequency gate that's around the planet. Um, that one right there, I actually pay attention to quite a bit. Every single time any person makes a connection to source, they're ripping a hole inside of the veil, and making it so that the Earth can actually get galactic connection through the person by proxy. And so every single time that happens, there's always a repair team that is sent to go repair that hole. And so what I do is I go up and I shoot through that barrier, and then I'll stay half in, half out, and I'll pick a direction, and I'll kind of charge myself up, and I'll run or fly as fast as I can and rip just a big giant tear in it. And then one of the things that I really enjoy doing is, like you were talking about, the stolen energy that props up the system. It's all fair game up there. And so I'll squeeze out all the energy that they're using that is of humanity. And then I will clean that out, absorb that, and then use that to go rip the veil up some more. And so that's one of my favorite things to do, actually. It's kind of like I don't know if you've ever done theta healing before, but one of the techniques that they use to pop out of the body is compressing your soul down into the root area with like a spring type action, and then popping up out of the body. And that's kind of something that I do. What I do is like I crouch down etherically and charge up my legs, and then I shoot as high as I can until I crash through, and then I come back to it, and then I pick a direction. And so I'll do that for until I get tired, and it's really fun because you can like they'll send stuff after you to like stop you from doing what you're doing. They'll go and send repair teams, so on and so forth. And I just wrap all of them up, and I take that energy and then I transmute it, and I use that to keep on wrecking the grid. And it's actually really funny. Like they've sent some big stuff after me from doing that. And like when you have that type of mentality of reclaiming the stolen power for humanity and using it to set more people free, you could just get stronger and stronger and stronger in that direction. Like it's actually really cool what you can do with that.
Oh yeah, like the Bodhisattva route where we all won't heal. I won't. What is it? I won't spiritually become enlightened until everyone rises up and awakens, or something. Um, I do. I live like to live by that. I noticed you are on a lot of energetic teams for helping save the planet. So thank you for that. And bring it out of this system of bondage. I'm mostly I'm doing that with you. I'm also like on the away team. I've seen that too, where they like constantly try to repair the energetic grids, and they have all these layers to it to keep it going, despite all the things penetrating holes into it. So I'm like mostly on the away team of figuring out where there are reserves of energy to keep that operation funded, and then getting rid of it so they have less energy to spend on. So they have to make choices at what they want to hold on to, and then that like brings out their strategy and what they want to hold on to the most, which they and what they're willing to give up uh, instead of for more advantageous things that they need to keep going based on their predictive models. So it kind of gives you that strategy in that regard. Yeah, that's a really cool method. It's like a um, turning your own body into a cannon throughout. Yep. Um, that's interesting method. So let's see. What oh uh I'd also like to talk about different parts of the body that you've noticed with limiters in like I've noticed gates and apertures, plugs, uh energetic siphoning or redirecting self-defeating programs, all these different things that you could put in the category of blocks that keep us at 1% of our power. Do you have anything you want to bring into that?
Definitely, there's a lot with that level. First and foremost is the seven color chakra centers, the visible light spectrum. When we look at visible light, it's only 2.3% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum that we know that's available. There's actually a lot more available energetically than just that, but mainstream science agrees that the electromagnetic grid, visible light, only rates 2.3% on that. And so just by opening up your energetic centers out of these color systems and integrating gold energy in, you're using full spectrum energy. And what I mean gold, it's not like, a bright yellow. We're talking about the brilliant white sunlight or the brilliant white gold sunlight, and using that inside your body. And that is full spectrum energy right there that really, it stretches your ability to see inside of invisible light, and it allows you to even perceive these systems to begin with. So that right there, that's the first one. Secondly, there's all kinds of different things in the way that the body is supposed to flow. Like we've got our governing vessel meridian flowing from the perineum up to the top of the head, and the conception vessel meridian flowing from the top of the head back down to the perineum, that it makes a cycle inside the body. And this is the sea of yin and the sea of yang. And if you have any blockage whatsoever, because there's all kinds of devices that they put inside the solar plexus, inside the root area, the heart space, the throat, anything that blocks the flow of that circle inside the body, that really makes it detrimental for any energetic machinery that you're trying to use. And so we have the central channel, the Sushumna, where from the crown to the perineum, that powers the third eye, the throat, the heart, solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root. And those right there, they get their energy from that flow up the spine and down the front through specific acupuncture points. And you have to have those open and flowing in order to have clean energy flow. And so, like that alone right there, when you're doing that, it's more than enough to kind of put you onto the radar for the silicon entities. Now, the silicon entities, those guys are insidious because they aren't dark. You can't see them with the normal range of function and looking inside of the body. And so what you have to do is, the first time you ever detect these things, it's like when I did it, it was like running into a sliding glass door on accident. I didn't even know it was there, and I had to feel around it to see that there was even something there. And what that led me to is an understanding of how they use this clear energy to actually filter chi out of the body. And so they will allow chi flow, like people who are starting to get fairly competent at cleaning themselves out, they will allow them to clean themselves out of the dark energy. But then there's these things in the background that are really hard to even detect. And what they do is they'll limit you down to about, maybe 15, 20% of your chi flow, which, if you are inside a visible light to begin with, you can only reach like, if you split 2.3% into 7 different slices, that's 0.333% each for each one. So, I mean, it's still, regardless, you're getting a lot more energy flow, and it feels very efficient and effective. But in reality, you're still only getting maybe 20% of what you're supposed to be able to be getting. And so I see those guys putting limiters, caps, blocks on the energy flow all the time. Not to mention things that go onto the auric field itself. You might have dysfunction, say, in the throat or something like that, and you be working and working and working, and you just can't find anything inside the body that's doing it. That's when it's time to look outside in the auric field and see if there's any dysfunction outside the body close to it. And so you'll if there's any dysfunction in the throat on the auric field, it'll be at about the throat level, maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of you. So I see stuff like that all the time. I see suppression caps that filter the energy coming in from source so that you can make a connection to source, but it feels super weak, like 10% of what it's supposed to be. What else is there? Computer type chips for the AI programs that run inside the body. So say, for instance, that somebody's got some trauma in their past and they are trying to work through that. These types of things, they can create thought programs and neurological passageways that propagate the negative emotion, the negative habit, the thing that you want to break yourself out of. It can actually heighten those. And so things along the lines of like actually going into the body, finding the programs inside the body, rewriting them, and replacing them with a positive, uplifting program. Those are one of the things that we do here as well, and it's really quite vital to for growth. You have to be able to work on the program as it's triggered, because as it's triggered, you have the opportunity to rewrite it. And so that's one of the biggest things right there. The emotion work, the internal mastery, the emotional maturity that really has to be strove for any type of balanced living inside this reality. There's all kinds of things that cause limiters and blocks and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I see that quite often. And like every moment they can, whenever person's out of their sacred bubble of space, wherever their protection is, even in there, it's like it depends on how advancedly targeted you are and how much wants to stop you from becoming powerful, or subtly without you noticing, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I like the replacing the energetic systems and getting up and flowing, and I also use transmutation to recycle energy and transmute into a better form, and then also replace that. So the silicone entities, I've noticed, like also you remember last time we talked, where, well, like one of our it's not like the last time we talked, there was like a bunch of, but we ran into different types of invisible entities and energies and different types of usages that were very hard to detect, but we since then found and made an operating system for detecting them. They're pretty annoying.
Yeah.
I do notice them trying to do stuff, especially when you figure out how they're gaining that ability and where it tracks back to. It's usually very interesting. It's not like some normal thing that anyone can do, and it kind of leads into some greater abilities. If you have like energy that can be unnoticed or invisible, what can you do with that? And there's like abilities to like make yourself invisible to the spectrum of another person's perception. Um, okay, here's a good topic. Like because it's been raining a lot near you, and you also have the last name Reynez. How have you been using the rain to program, clean, heal your reality?
So it's Rains, not Rainez.
Okay.
That's what they used to call me in high school. That was funny. No, it's Eric Rains.
Oh, that's even better
So
then.
Well, it's I actually met this Zuni elder named Clifford Mahudi at the Eclipse of Disclosure, the one of the conferences I was speaking at last month, and he did a blessing for me that was just very, very interesting because he told me that I'm one of the rain people, and he didn't even actually know my last name at the time. He just saw the work that I was doing, and he came over to talk with me and get some work done. And like he told me, I'm one of the rain people. The rain clan apparently is an advanced group of healers who they come to the planet whenever there is need for healing on that level. And like it was really funny. And I asked him, I was like, "Do you know what my last name is?" And he just kind of gave me this blank look, like, "No, like, should I?" And I was like, "Well, it's Rains." And he says, "Ah, see, I told you, you are of the rain people." And it was really cool because the blessing that he gave me. I'd never actually had anything like that happen before. He gave me a handful of cornmeal, and then in his native language, he was speaking to the elementals of the trees, the elementals of the land, the elementals of the mountain, and the ancestors. And I could feel as he was doing this, because I'm 25% native. I'm Cherokee and Blackfoot, and I could feel literally these giant hands, one on each shoulder, and these 10-foot tall native. I don't even know what to call them. They're my ancestors. That's the only thing I can call them. It's the grandmother energy and the grandfather energy, and I can feel them decked out in full blown regalia, medicine regalia, and they were adding to the blessing. And then he told me what he was saying in English, and he was asking the tree people, the earth people, the sky people, the rain people, the water people, the mountain people, all these different elemental races to help me out with what I'm doing, to help me with my energy, and to help with the mastery that I'm trying to understand. And then I blew the cornmeal to all of them, and I mean, it was just one of the most interesting energetic upgrades that I've ever had, because I've never felt that frequency before, despite the fact that it was very, very familiar. And the level of connectiveness that I have got to the land around me now, it's much, much cleaner. It's much, much more pure. And that was one of the things that I actually led the fire circle through one of those nights, was directing their attention to the land around us and seeing it just flooding with energy, and the trees and the plants and the animals just flowing with chi. And when we did that, there was a lifting that rung throughout the woods for hundreds of miles. Like, it was absolutely phenomenally beautiful. And I've been able to connect into the water elemental, the water consciousness in the sky, and just feel it, And so that's one of the things that, like the rain dances, what they're doing is they're not dancing for rain, they're dancing in the rain. Like they're feeling the water pouring down them, they're feeling the mud that they're stomping in, and they're feeling the joy that they have by being inside of this rain right here. And this is one of the things that we've really been starting to do. And like, especially since we came back from Shasta on the 4th, it was just so smoky up here. There was like, we drove from Mount Shasta all the way to Salem, Oregon, and it's like about a 320-mile trip. And we couldn't get out of the smoke the whole entire way. It just kept on getting worse, and there were pockets where it was somewhat a little better, but I mean, you could look at the sun directly through the smoke in the midday. And so this is something that we've really been, once we got back and we were able to kind of recover and regroup, we've been really doing is just feeling the rain and the gratitude that we have for the rain. And, they've been geoengineering the crap out of this place right here, and yet we're still getting rain coming in. And, this is something that I have been speaking about on my Facebook page, on the Unleashing Natural Humanity Facebook page, on what we can do to tap into that. And instead of, try to combat these forces, it's all about recognizing that it's already here. All we have to do is facilitate it and allow it to flourish. And so that's one of the things we've really been starting to do, because it's needed. It's really needed, and anybody can do this. And so, it's what we need to do, is just step up as a people, step up as a collective understanding of what actually is going on, and then work from within the system using the same exact tools that they are using against us. The systems are already here. We just need to convert them back into light.
Exactly. Like when I'm scanning into you, I see like a huge plethora of elemental extensions of yourself interacting with already existing elemental versions of you. They're interacting in the cloud cities, the air, the mist, the fourth phase of water, the um, ground, the rocks, the trees. There's so many. You're doing a lot. You're in a lot of collective consciousnesses. You're a healer in many other places, and you represent that here, and so it's very impressive. So I also go into past life bleedovers and DNA lineage bleedovers and the energetic inheritance from that and how that amalgamates in blockages here. Have you like tuned into your DNA lineages and the mystery schools of that, as well as ones that like they'll usually like with past lives they'll usually bleed over in your heart, but they'll also bleed over in like a dashboard indicator through an already existing anchorage that can be amplified with that bleed over to be worse, but as a indicator that there's also something needing remedy. And if you can resolve both in the moment, then it makes the future way better and way less limitation. Do you run into that?
Yeah. So this was one of the ones that was really kind of just frustrating me because I was figuring out aspects to it, but not the whole until just recently, actually. I was working on a lady at the Golden Frequency Immersion Retreat, and starting off, I know how to multidimensionally tap into people. And so there are versions of myself that are, I've got maybe about 80 of them that are on the same life path that are here with me right now. And then multiple spectrums all the way into some really dark stuff. I've got an alternate version of myself that is, doing the satanic ritual abuse for the cabal. And so this is one of the bleed throughs that I was actually receiving that I didn't know where it was coming from. And so until I started cleaning out that multidimensional field, and making sure that all of us are safe, all of us are healthy, no matter whatever end of the spectrum we're on. And so all of us are starting to really pull towards the light spectrum into this line of work right here. And so I've been working with people on that level for a while, and yet I was feeling some bleed through coming from other places that I couldn't access. I couldn't understand what was happening. And it wasn't until I was working on a friend of mine around the fire circle at one of the Golden Frequency Immersion Retreat fire circles in the evening, and she was telling me, she says, I feel like I have an ancestor, whether it's one of my ancestors or if it's me in a past life, and I feel this is where a lot of my stuff is coming from. And so what I did is I opened up her DNA and I flowed through on the patriarchal side, and I could open it all the way up to where I could see it was almost like an unbroken circle of man after man after man after man that went back into time immemorial, and I couldn't even see that far back. And so like it was, but it was only half of the equation. I could feel where that spiral was resting on where something should be, and I couldn't see that. So I opened up the matriarchal side of her DNA, and she's Asian, of Asian descent, and she had a qigong master that was a very, very powerful light magician. And I couldn't even tell you how long ago this was. Like, the number that I'm getting is easily 4,000 or 5,000 years. I can't get a precise one off of it, but the amount of energy that was coming from this lady was just absolutely phenomenal. Like, she literally was creating her own reality. Her consciousness was so strong that as she walked through the world, everything that went to her reality she could manipulate. And so this is what they called magic and stuff like that, because she would bring her reality into a space and then manipulate it and change it, and then be able to do work from that level. And so it was actually the attention that was inside of the DNA knowledge coming down all the way to this lady, who that this is where the interference was coming from, because they did not want this knowledge coming back out into the general populace right now. This is one of the things, the mastery, the knowledge that they've really been trying to shut off, so that we're dulled down and we don't understand this. And so when I cleaned that out, and I was actually able to see the systems of energy flow that she was using, it really gave me some very, very good ideas and some upgrades of my own. And I've been using this DNA connection to open up people to source through the DNA, because that's one of the major things that has happened in the past was the DNA incursion that blocked off the connection to this information right here. And so one of the things that I really enjoy doing is actually repairing those DNA incursions, hundreds of thousands, millions of years ago, and watching the information of the ancient knowledge percolate down into the person and literally start to light them up instinctively. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And that's one thing that I'm actually really heavily involved in researching right now, because I guarantee you that there are ancestors or places in my past, in my DNA, that I haven't figured out yet, that where there are more than enough knowledge and more than enough gifts for everything that I need to do here.
Yes, I do that too. It's very fun. That's why I'm going into it. It's very interesting. I talk about it too. Um, with the we all have like negative versions of ourselves that, like, as multidimensional beings, we play it on multiple sides and need to exist in those formats for long-term chess moves of, like, if we're gonna eventually in the future heal those dark versions of, and then they turn rebellious, then they have like a bunch of the keys to the skeleton closets of the dark side, which is good. And also, like, the dark seems to target versions of ourselves that are weaker, that are easier to mind control, and then get at them in turn in disunity and competition to the rest of our spirit tree, and then steal energy and ability from it, knowing or unknowing. Either way, they're an ego and they think there's nothing wrong. And yeah, it's very advantageous to resolve that and find a way to heal every different aspect of those versions of ourselves, if we're able to. If not, then we should just cut cords with them and keep them from being able to connect to us until the time when we can actualize that and bring them back into balance and state of awareness. The DNA, actually, I see a lot of the DNA incursion. I'm glad you brought that up. Um, Tracking a lot of those back. There's so many DNA secrets. Like, it's like a computer. It's like finding new presence. Um, each DNA lineage has its own technology and introduction into our systems that can be deactivated or reactivated, brought up to snuff, audited, and um, getting rid of hijacking or any systems that don't need to be there, and then turned into a much better system. They all have mystery schools, they have memory, they have all this interesting stuff, linkage to armies of ancestors that want to work with you or help help them resolve things. And it all amalgamates. It's really very advanced. The level of what we have at our potential to go into. I also go into each one of their mystery schools and downloading certain abilities that will help us this lifetime that are most advantageous. And mainly, I'm invested in healing, because if you focus on healing, you can focus on learning everything faster, because you get rid of a lot of the blockages that are limiting everything else. So you don't have to just focus on manifesting one big ability and then, like, that take you 80 years or something. Um, uh, there's a lot of different ways to heal DNA, but, like, some of it has lots amount of drama, and you can file it into the lighter spectrum, the neutral or the darker spectrum of DNA introductions, and how, like, what the human species really is, because nobody really explains that, and there's not really a way to explain that in a few sentences at all, when we're amalgamation of all these different species and lineages come together in one technology that's been broken down and shut down, but still has the potential of being repaired and then becoming the ultimate limitless genetic potential example. Um, I don't know. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like you just said, I really enjoy that distinction right there is that rather than trying to, manifest this specific ability for yourself, go into the healing path. Start looking to heal yourself, because when you remove these blockages, natural humanity is absolutely amazing. And when you start reverse engineering these blockages and figuring out where to flow the energy and turn the systems back on that they're actively shutting down, that's where these abilities come flying out, and this is one of those things that the more focus you put into this, the stronger you can get till, like stuff that we do, we are not special. Anybody can do this. You just have to open up those levels of blockage within yourself and start to actually use it. That's the thing, is actually use these abilities, use this energy, and don't get caught up in the physical mundane world that tells you stuff like this is impossible. Because these are totally possible. Everything that we do, it flies in the face of what mainstream science agrees is even available to happen. Like these are technically miracles that we're doing here, simply for the fact that there is no explanation for the way that this works, because our technology is designed to look the other direction, to look only into the physical. And I believe it was Tesla who said, when we meld spirituality and science, we're going to explode forward in evolution faster, in 10 years more than we have in the past 1,000, So it's one of those things that we are definitely getting to the point to where we can start getting physical, not just energetic in nature, because right now the collective believes that magic isn't real. The collective believes that stuff like this is impossible to do. And so the more people who see it, the more people who feel it, the more people who do it, the faster we are going to force the collective consciousness into having magic as a possibility. And so that's when we're going to start seeing people doing physical things. They're going to have control over their energetic mastery, their own reality, to the point that, suddenly they're going to be thinking about needing a pencil, and there's a pencil in their hand. They're going to trip and realize that they just floated like 3 feet, things along those lines. So it's all about just stepping up and keep on going.
Absolutely. So like the choice is yours. You can either have a mobile paperweight for a body or the most advanced technology in the universe. So everyone can do what we're doing. Absolutely. It's just like what you need to do to get there in the to-do list, and the actualization, the clearance, and being aligned with Earth and Source. That's also a big part, because like the planet's rules, kind of what we're going under right now, and why we're not able to fly all the time, because a lot of beings are stealing our abilities. And so we gotta protect those abilities, and then once we learn how to protect them, even in this this really dense reality where like it's really hard to function. That's like one of the hardest. This is one of the hardest games there is for that, in processing limitation, and you can do it pretty much anywhere else. And like most magic on in like movies and stuff, like describes it as needing to be luminous in quality. That is not required at all. It's mostly designed here to be unnoticed, invisible, and unseen, so it's less trackable and can be subtly affecting in mystical moments. Though there are that, and that will come up soon, and there will be many more layers to reality once we take care of what needs to be taken care of through the rules now, and even some people have been able to do that on an individual level. So yay. And then so some other things I've been doing recently is taking what I've learned for myself, and like how you've learned also in planet healing, for healing the different nodal points, meridians, chakras, and ley lines of the land that I'm around, and working with the ancestors. And it's kind of like, have you seen Pokemon Go?
I have not.
Okay, this is that game. It's not. I don't like it that much, but like in the concept where people um like going around, it gets people moving like out in the streets and searching for different areas, and like it's not in the same aspect. I don't like the concept of like capturing animals and then putting them against each other to fight. It's not like that at all, but like I go around tracking things that need remedy, such as like buildings that have been erected over Indian burial grounds, and then I go and seek out and communicate with those ancestors, and I resolve them, and then they usually become a they if they haven't already become a nature spirit to the land, which is usually why they're there and need remedy, and then they do a lot of things. They become really powerful after remedy, and then we sync together and they bilocate to become a part of the spiritual entourage. So it's kind of like Pokemon Go and that Go, but I'm not capturing them and I'm not dominating them. And we're bringing to unity so that expands the planet, because then they go help the planet even further. Do you do things like that?
The biggest breakthrough I've had on that level recently was actually being able to contact the plant kingdom, the plant elementals.
Yeah.
And so they've been downloading all kinds of different modalities for me. And one of the biggest things that I cannot wait to do. So I'm still stuck in this 15-month lease at my apartment right now, so I can't actually go out and buy a piece of land. But when I do have my land, what I'm going to be doing is, especially here in Oregon, you can have year-round growing without secondary watering, and all kinds of different plants from all around the world can actually grow here. And so what I'm planning on doing is creating a massive garden that is in conjunction with the plant kingdom. So we can, infuse the land with love. We can infuse the plants with appreciation, because I mean they are completely and totally conscious, and they're really kind of miffed about the whole situation right now, how we put animals on a much higher conscious state than the plant kingdom when they're way more evolved. And so by building these gardens in conjunction with the elemental kingdom, and like asking the plants, where would you like to be, what would be most beneficial for you, and then building the land around that, we're going to be creating an elemental consciousness that expands out for hundreds, if not thousands of miles. And these are going to be the nodes that start allowing magic in earnest back into our life, back into reality. And so this is something that I am definitely 100% pushing for. This is where we are going with all this.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up. I love talking about plants. That absolutely rings with me, and I can tune into what you're doing. It's great. Um, so like what I do with the plants, similarly, is like I will look at them like I do a person that I'm healing, and then you can heal them the same way. You can release their trapped emotions, their trauma, their energetic systems up and going, flowing, and they upgrade to a certain level. They like kids in consciousness, like density, like of how much energy they've accumulated in the fetus. They'll start like growing up from 1 2 and then 3 outward, and then they get more and more chakras like fully integrated, and then they go up to all the way up to 7 and beyond. Same thing with plants. Like they can have different varieties of spiritual evolution, and just being around you does spiritual commerce with them to activate. And I'm like setting up a spiritual fortress of plants around my house, and especially when I get my own land, I want to do that, and then just make it like expand with all the elementals that I've interacted backwards and forwards in time, and like the spiritual my own spiritual forest that I've interacted with on other planets and this planet and other realms, all kinds of, there's so many different expressions that you can go into, and how each plant has its own skill set. There can be a plant that's contracted to be a healer or a demon catcher, or a defensive like barrier to everything that like what you said, going into it amplifies the ability for mystical experiences to happen. There's like gardens that will have elementals roaming around and like looking for hotel space, and creating uh, realms and portals into little pocket dimensions that they can set up to amplify each plant's ability to grow and then expand, and everything works together for the betterment of the environment and the resolution of the land and the ancestor land and inner earth, syncing up with the plants and using them to view the surface, as well as attracting the animals that can do that as well and interact. And it's all exchange and commerce, and it goes into the future. There's so many things you can set up with plants, magic, and plant alchemy, and even working with the plants in a union communion way, so that like a spiritual farming where they know that they're going to be a part of you or another person, and then how that amalgamates, and them sharing dream space, or going on missions with you, having plant-based armies that you can surround your house. There's all kinds of cool things that you can all work together to make this planet better. It's very cool.
Really, really cool. So the plant-based armies that you're talking about, like, I've actually noticed these. There are massive amounts of elementals on the surface that are just lost. They don't know where to go, and they need places like this because they're all just kind of drifting by themselves, there's pockets of them that are holding on, like especially in the more rugged places like the Amazonian jungle, so on and so forth. I've actually got a black sapote, which is a chocolate pudding fruit that came from the jungles of Peru, and it's one of the most powerful elementals that I've come into contact with yet. She is just incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, and she's able to use her energy almost like a magnet, and it draws elementals to her. So, I mean, I've got some tomatoes, I've got some ice cream beans, I've got some, like elephant ears, I've got some aloe vera, I've got the black sapote, I've got plants that are on my balcony right now in pots, but the level of energy that is being brought in just through these tiny amount of potted plants, like, it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And when we energetically connect in with the plants and we let them know that we love them and appreciate them and see them as vibrant, as living as possible, seeing the energy flowing through them, they lap it up. You can literally bring plants back from the dead just by loving them, and like, it's one of these things that, like, there is so much power that we can tap into that we're just starting to recognize and understand right now, that, it's the sky's the limit. The sky is literally the limit.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to practice that. Like, I don't know what other people call it. I call it my Project Lazarus, where I've practiced bringing plants back to life by like reading, like, there's like a movie, I forget what is it called, Princess's Bride, where it's like, but he's dead. He's only mostly dead. Same thing.
He's only dead.
Same thing with the plants, and they're good to practice that on, as well as really good to practice telepathy with. There are many different types of telepathy. Human telepathy is really, really hard, and it's got lots of blockages and white noise and all this other stuff. Planet is a lot older, so it's easier to connect with them and practice that. So they have mystery schools in themselves, wisdom, knowledge. They can be a really old spirit and sometimes have past life lead over memory, and then share that with you, and then you enter that mystery school, and then they can also do psychic surgery with you while you fall asleep next to them. It's really cool.
Yep.
So when do you gotta go? Just checking.
We need to start wrapping it up soon.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. I guess we can talk about a little bit more, but and then we'll plug some information. I don't know. What have you been doing in outside of this planet? If you were
So, outside of this planet, I've actually been tuning into quite a few bases in the Kuiper Belt.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I will have, say, an energetic incursion, and I'll feel a dark front being pushed in on around me, and I'll track it off planet. And what I've been doing is putting GPS locators, because there's all kinds of bases out there right now that the scalar technology, the parasitic construct, all the physical technology that's keeping these veils in place, that's where they're coming from. And the light forces are having a heck of a time even finding them. They're so well shielded that they don't know where they're at. And so I'm energetically tracking these things down because, that's why we came in here, is to be a part of the system so that we can work from the inside and figure it out. And so what I've been doing is I've been breaking these bases. I've been shutting down the electronic machinery, because these machines, these physical machines that actually operate on the energetic level, they are so finely tuned and highly calibrated down to, like 0.0001 millimeters. And so you can go into these machines etherically in through the molecular structure and just flex it slightly, and that's enough to throw that off of the calibration. And then as soon as that's out of calibration, it breaks the whole entire machine down. And so that's one of the things that I've been doing, is going in through that way, and then finding the shielding protocols, finding the shielding apparatuses, and doing the same thing for them, and then blazing a beacon of light, and then suddenly I feel multidimensionals just swarming the area, and all of a sudden it's clean. So there's quite a few things in the Kuiper Belt that I've been tuning into, these bigger asteroids, the ones that are like the size of states and whatnot. And then there's also like just the connections between the galactic central sun through the Pleiades, through Sirius, through Alcyone, through Arcturus, all these different things, these different filaments and connections that they're there, but they aren't allowing the energy to flow through because of the veil technologies inside the solar system itself. I've been really opening those up as well. And so what we've been noticing is that the sun is getting much more intense, much more active and bright, because it's getting the information that it needs, and more importantly, it's able to feedback loop it into the planet itself, and so we can access it. And so we're getting to crunch time. It's getting to the point to where these energetic systems, the physical systems, the etheric systems, they are all becoming very, very obvious right now. And they're turning into catalysts for awakening. These guys are trying to crack down. They're trying to take their toys and go home, and there's no way out of the sandbox. And each time that they, do this selfish type of an act of, terrorism, whether that's energetic, physical, or technological, they're sparking catalysts for awakening, and that's what we are. We are here on the forefront of these energies, living them, not just talking about them, but actually living them. And that's why we're held to a higher standard on this level, because we have to embody the energy that we wish to see. And so just by embodying this energy, we are creating a beacon of light that other people can see, that other people can feel, and more importantly, that other people can turn on. And so that's what's happening right now. Is just it's a system, it's a solar system, and you can't just ignore everything else happening inside the solar system if you want the planet to be free. It's just like you start getting good at implant removal and cleaning yourself from implants, and you're not paying attention to the entities outside of you that are putting these things in. It's you have to kind of take it to that next level in order to find that next level of being uninterfered with. And that's kind of what we're doing here, is at the solar system, and there's interference throughout the whole thing, and it's really easy to work on once you know how.
Absolutely, yeah. And I see these different connections and channels and gateways that you're opening in connection between all these different versions of you on each planet in the solar system, and the sun, and different stars, that you're connecting a grid of connection that amplifies your ability to help, as well as allows the people the option to connect more into it just by naturally interacting with the sun in knowing and unknowingness. And then you're like working with the collective consciousness of the sun to amplify that in the plus all the other collectives that you're interacting with. So thank you for that. I'm doing a similar thing, and everyone can create a grid like that, and then if we did, then it would amplify everything tremendously, and then the sun could just easily help us much better to upgrade in consciousness. Do you want to plug your information, and I'll plug mine?
Yeah, definitely. So I've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group under the same name of Unleashing Natural Humanity. My website is unleashingnaturalhumanity.com, and my YouTube channel is Eric Pilgrim.
Awesome. So, okay, you can reach him there and get a session with him. Very sought after. And my website is silvercordss.com. I'm on Facebook under Silvercord Spiritual Science, as well as on YouTube, same name. And you can also reach me by talking to my assistant at mokorn@hotmail.com and schedule a session there, or also definitely reach Eric. He's got unique abilities as well and ways to see. It's very impressive how he's able to see with his vision. And thank you so much, Eric, for coming on my show, Multidimensional Roundtable, and thank you for having me on your show as well.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Uh, thank you all again for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.